My power morpher! Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Power Rangers Essentials. My name's Steven Rita, and this week we're covering the second episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, High Five. Not quite sure why it's called High Five, because there's not really a lot of high fives in it, but we're going to cover the episode anyways. So this episode quickly sets up Trini's fear of heights as the gang is working out in Ernie's juice bar. Trini does not want to climb the rope that Jason's climbing, and while Jason is climbing the rope, he sets up one of the many physical gags that you'll become familiar with on the show, with the whole swinging Billy around, blah blah blah. Get used to it, you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff. Then we cut up to the moon, and Rita's got a plan so evil and so simple that I'm just going to let her explain it to you.
I'll trap them in a time warp the same way I did Zordon!
While she's going on about her plan, we're going to meet Squat, Babu, and Finster, who I did not introduce you to last time. Squat and Babu are her two incompetent servants. One's a baboon, one is a pig thing. I'm not really quite sure what Squat is. But then we have Finster, who is the guy who makes all of her putties and monsters out of clay. So this episode sets up a key component of the Mighty Morphin lore, the Communicator. Billy, the smart one, invents the Communicator, which also has the ability to teleport the Rangers. Although he doesn't explain it that simply, he talks in a very sophisticated techno-babble that Trini, the Yellow Ranger, has to translate for him.
This is more phenomenal.
Stop. Word of the day, more phenomenal. Write it down. So Rita unleashes her plan to trap them in a time warp, and while she's doing that, she sends some putties out to the outskirts of town because that's a big threat. Although maybe she's just trying to draw the Rangers away, which is, I guess, a good plan. Zordon sends the Rangers over to fight these putties, and this is good because as the second episode, the Rangers shouldn't be fully confident in themselves and know exactly what to do to fight these putties, and it shows. They're a little hesitant, especially Trini and Billy. So while the fight's going on, Trini expresses her fear of heights again as Billy is chased up a cliff. But wanting to help her friend, Trini gets over her fear of heights, goes up, gets rid of the putty for Billy after he clumsily drops his morpher.
My power morpher!
Down on the ground we have the best or worst, depending on how you look at it, fighting technique ever, the human chain, which is only taught to the highest of black belts, or nobody at all. It's actually a horrible technique, but again, I was talking about all the physical gags, this is another one of them.
That was truly morphitudinous, Trini.
Okay, forget that. Morphitudinous, that's your word of the day. Now the kids morph into the Power Rangers and fight their very first monster, Bones, who has the power to reconstitute himself when he's defeated. When they're fighting Bones, they get actually into a very trippy fight into the time warp. It's kind of, I don't know if the Sentai footage looked like this, but it's very echoey. It's pretty cool, but it makes for a great fight, and the Rangers defeat Bones by severing his head and destroying that, because once you cut off the head, get rid of it, he can't put himself back together. It's also worth noting that Bones is the only monster in Mighty Morphin, as far as I'm aware of, that can create his own cronies. Rita has the putties, Bones has these sub-skeleton type zombies. So after defeating the cronies and Bones, Jason is snatched up by a generic giant. He doesn't have a name other than Giant. But he busts through, grabs Jason in his giant hand, pulls him outside. Jason frees himself, calls on his T-Rex, and finishes off the giant himself. Alright, it's a pretty straightforward episode, so how is it then versus now? Well, back then, I loved the physical gags. It worked great if you were a kid. I loved the bit where Jason would latch onto Billy and swing him around via the rope. But nowadays, it's pretty cheesy, and although cheesiness is a hallmark of the Mighty Morphin era, this is the bad kind of cheesy. It actually kind of makes me cringe a little bit. It's an example of the show not aging well.
This is so 90s.
Nowadays, it's actually kind of nice to see Trini overcome her fear, and with all the knowledge we have of film nowadays, it's actually pretty impressive to see how they show the scale of the giant when he starts attacking the Rangers via these kind of analog techniques. Remember, this is before all the advanced computers we have today. So to see them watch the T-Rex dinosaur rise out of the ground, or just see them look and a giant hand grabs Jason, that's a real hand. They had to build that hand out of, I don't know what, but that's impressive. Why is this an essential episode of Power Rangers? Well, it sets up the Communicator, which, like I said, is a very essential part of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and several of the following seasons. Also, this episode introduces the Blade Blasters, which are holstered at each Ranger's hip. It is a laser gun that doubles as a knife. If you had the toy, you know that there's a knife that hides in the barrel of the gun, flips out, and then now you've got a blade. It's a blade and blaster. Blade Blaster. Also, I have a little bit of a bias with this episode. This is actually that specific episode that got me hooked on Power Rangers and hooked on Jason as my hero, because he just gets to be awesome. He gets caught by a giant, dragged outside. The other Rangers are panicking, but not Jason, no. He shoots the monster in the face. 100+ foot tall monster, he just shoots it in the face. Not only does he shoot it in the face, he takes on the monster solo. We technically had a Megazord battle one episode before, and then Jason says, forget that, I'm just going to do this in my T-Rex Zord solo. And this is why the T-Rex Zord is my favorite of all these Zords. Another reason the T-Rex is my favorite Dino Zord is because it is set up amazingly. Since they're not calling on the rest of the Zords, they can spend more screen time on the Tyrannosaurus' intro. And they spend some time showing off the scale. You've got the Rangers in the foreground with the T-Rex in the background, and you just see how tall this thing is. There's a great sequence of Jason jumping up, powering it up, getting ready to go, talking down to the Rangers. It's just set up, and you really believe that this whole Rangers on the ground, Zords towering above them is happening in the same space. Okay, what did we learn here? This episode teaches us that if you want to overcome your fears, first you gotta face them. Trini is extremely scared of heights. She would not go anywhere near a rope, and if she kept up with that kind of thinking, she would never get over her fear of heights. But when her friend's in trouble, she knows she has to help Billy out. Billy is her best friend. She faces her fears and gets over the fear of heights. All right, the next episode of Power Rangers Essentials is covering the third episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers called Teamwork. So watch the episode, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. What is your favorite weapon that the Power Rangers get in this episode? So let me know, we'll see what the most popular one is. That's it, thanks for watching. I'm Steven Zrita. Don't forget to subscribe so you see a new Power Rangers Essentials every Saturday. We do a lot of other cool stuff on Hyperdrive Pictures, so hit that button, like this video if you liked it. I'll see you guys next week. Punch it! Ugh.